It was the first block of afternoon classes. Students had just finished having their after-lunch cat nap, and some were still a little weary. Regardless, the children filed down the hallways, groggily making their way to their respective classrooms. Two students lagged behind everyone else. It was the same every day. They were always the last into the classroom, especially on Tuesdays when it came time for music. Several trips to the office did little to curb their daily tardiness. The day's class was already underway before they sat their lazy butts down. Mrs. Long kept her back to them and continued writing music on the board, pretending that she didn't hear them come in. "The old crow doesn't even know we're late," Carl whispered to his partner in crime. "She's such an airhead," Lenny snickered. "Well, well," Mrs. Long spoke. "Look who has graced us with their presence." The boys seemed surprised. They believed they had snuck in unnoticed. She must have eyes in the back of her head, they thought. "What do you boys have to say for yourselves this time?" she asked sternly, but knowing she wasn't going to get a decent answer. "Abducted by aliens? Or did you get stuck in traffic?" Lenny gulped. He was aware that any trouble he got in at school would be twice as bad when he got home. He wondered if he should fall at Mrs. Long's feet and beg for her mercy. His buddy Carl still figured he could talk his way out of it. He wasn't going to give up without trying to weasel his way out of it first. And weaseling was his forte. "Actually, I have a perfectly good explanation for being late," Carl proclaimed in a defense attorney sort of way. "I had seriously planned on being early to your wonderful class today, but on my way here I slipped and landed on my head. If Lenny hadn't come along and performed CPR on me, I might not be alive at all." A smile came to Mrs. Long's face. She nodded as if she actually bought his story. "Oh my God," she gasped. "Are you all right?" All the students in the room realized she was being sarcastic. Carl, though, was still under the impression that he had pulled the wool over her eyes. He turned and winked proudly at Lenny, as if to say, "I told you she'd fall for it." "Well, we'd better get you to the infirmary to have you checked out," Mrs. Long insisted. "No, that's okay. I'll be fine. It's just a little bump, that's all," Carl said. "Bumps on the head can be quite serious, you know," Mrs. Long added. "You can never be too careful about head injuries. I think there is a shot they can give you just to make sure that you'll be okay. It will help with the swelling." Carl stiffened in his chair. He hated shots more than anything in the world. But if he was going to continue with this charade, he might have to bite the bullet and take one for the team. Slowly he rose to his feet and walked to the door to go to the infirmary. He reached out and began to turn the doorknob. Just as he was about to open the door, Mrs. Long spoke. "You are so gullible," she laughed. "You didn't think I actually believed a word that came out of your mouth, did you?" Carl started. "Don't bother answering. But as long as you're on your way out, why don't you and Lenny go and have a talk with the principal? I'm sure he'd be overjoyed to see you." She added, "Now scoot. Off you go." The two boys left for the principal's office with their tails between their legs. Carl had just been humiliated in front of the entire class. It was the last time that they were ever late for class.